What's happening, everybody? DisThunder here from the Whoosh, and we are back again with another Mezco review. It's been one hell of a few weeks. So let's jump right into it then with the 112 Collective Alien from the 1979 movie. The 79 Alien, or Big Chap as he is colloquially known, actually got his first figure back in 78, not without some controversy. I wouldn't know, I wasn't there. And then sat out most of the Kenner line and the McFarlane line, and then got a figure, I think, starting, was it 06 or 07 with the NECA line. So how about we get into what makes this one different? We'll start with the inner jaw feature. We've had many different attempts over the years, from spring-loaded ones to like the NECA pull-out ones, which are fairly successful. Mezco went for something keep it simple, stupid style. You just plug in different lengths and adjust how you want it to look. He has three options. There's an open that you see here, there's a closed, and then there's a dripping one, which I'll show in a second here. And unfortunately, the dripping one doesn't quite pull off the wet look that some of the other accessories do, but there you are. That's how it looks. Similarly, Mezco goes with interchangeable hands instead of the articulated fingers, just on a simple ball joint there. There's a more relaxed hand with the fingers closer together, and then there is a slightly more split hand, but I think the wide grip that I had on there at the beginning is my favorite. But again, never a bad thing to have options. And don't let my fumbling on camera lead you astray here. They're actually pretty easy to swap in and out if you use both hands and not trying to look through a viewfinder. An interesting alternate piece is a secondary chest part that you can switch out that has the harpoon grapple stuck through it, like from the end of the movie. Similarly, it's actually not that difficult to get off when you're not trying to do it on camera. You just need to get your fingernails underneath the sides. You can see there's three pegs that hold it in place there, and popping the other one on is pretty straightforward. It's an interesting addition. It actually looks pretty close to what it did on screen. I just don't think I've ever seen anybody try to replicate it in figure form before. Kind of cool. But let's talk about what everybody's here for, which is the seamless body and the articulation. Starting with the plastic stuff, there is a ball socket neck that pegs into the collar that has a pretty good range of motion. The articulated jaw, as you already have seen. And then the torso, which everything else pegs into. It does allow for a little bit of forward and back range, but it's more of a swivel. It's a little bit of a bummer there. Coming out of that torso, though, we have the ball socket shoulders, which are seamless, and they have a great range, especially that shoulder socket. On the elbow, it is a hinged swivel that's hidden inside the carapace, and it's detented. It has different notches. The knees are done similarly, and it holds pose really well. Ball socket on the hands, as you've already seen. So the entire lower body is covered in a rubber overlay on top of like a skeletal system, like a Fison, and that means it has a really impressive range of motion. I mean, like a front kick like I was not expecting at all. The knee is a hinge swivel, like I mentioned, a single joint, but it gets better than most double joints. And there's a standard ball socket ankle at the bottom of that, which allows for actually pretty good range of motion. Similarly, the hips allow for outward movement as well, a lot more than I was anticipating. And the material of the overlay feels pretty sturdy. I've messed with it for a few days now, and I've not noticed any cracks or any issues. And of course, there's a bendy wire in the tail, which is surprisingly soft and holds a pose really well. Again, not what I was expecting, better maybe than I was expecting. It's definitely different. The seamless body definitely gives it a different aesthetic. It feels more like a movie prop suit in a way. But for comparisons, let's bring in the NECA Scorpion Alien, one of my favorites, and obviously he dwarfs this Mezco Alien by a considerable amount. It's kind of a testament to both companies that as different as these two are, and from completely different movies and source materials and the whole bit, they still feel kind of complementary in a lot of ways. This came as a bit of a surprise to me. It actually dwarfs my Monster Arts Warrior Alien by almost the same amount. And I think it's pretty obvious looking at the three of them together. This one's probably the weakest in terms of sculpt now by comparison. I'm still going to have all three together in my collection. I just thought I'd mention it. He also doesn't stand as good as the other two, but that could be a me thing. And lastly, and what I expect will probably be most people's setup if you're a 112 collector, let's bring in the Mezco 112 Predator as well. You know, I just thought about this. I actually don't think the Big Chap, Alien, and Predator have ever actually interacted like in canon, so it's hard to say whether this is a good scale or not. I feel like it's a pretty good scale, and it reminds me a lot of the the nostalgic good feels I got from the 2-packs, like the Kenner one back in the 90s and then the McFarlane one from 2002 or so. And if those are anything to go by, yeah, this looks right to me. And it wouldn't be one of my reviews without some form of Supreme Knight Batman to bring in to compare. And this right here, this is what I love about this line. In one frame. Completely different properties, different movies, different inspirations, and they all still look good together. We'll put these two in a little bit more of a face-off pose, and if that doesn't give you instant flashbacks to 93 and the Ultimate Intergalactic Battle Pack from Kenner, I don't know what will. In fact, now I'm kind of wondering if I want to repaint one of these Predators with bronze armor to make that Renegade Predator. Oh, damn it. Anyway, let's get back to business here. He also comes with a couple of Ovomorph eggs, one open and one closed, and I'm going to put those underneath here to show you. These eggs felt pretty big to me at first glance, but I compared it to some movie stills, and that's pretty accurate. You've got one facehugger with his tail kind of coiled, so you could wrap it around a figure and put that on his face. What impressed me is the inside of this egg is very organic and gross looking. At first I tried it with the light off to see if I get the reflection. Let me switch to a little brighter light. And that's what I meant when I was talking about that inner jaw piece earlier. That looks gross and wet. That's impressive. And just so you have something to compare it to, here's one of the SH Monster Arts eggs. Obviously they're quite a bit different, but that's a lot bigger. Let's see, we've also got an extended face hugger that you could lay out on your operating table. Very nicely painted, by the way. And we also get a little face hugger. The paintwork on this is great. The sculpt is solid. I do kind of wish he was bendy wired, though, because it'd give him a lot more personality. Still, for an extra, it's not bad at all. So as far as this whole rubber overlay carapace thing goes, I've had the figure for about 4 days now, and basically all of my concerns about durability and function have kind of proven to be warrantless. The range and the flexibility of the pieces over, especially the joints, has been really impressive. I mean, anything within what you would normally do with an alien figure, this seems to do just fine. And I feel like I've kind of pushed it to like the limits, especially on the elbows and knees, seeing how far it'll go. And it's like, it's pretty obvious where you want to stop at, and it's beyond what you would normally pose them at anyway. I've mentioned before, I've had some Fison figures, and I don't really like those. They kind of weird me out. And this is definitely different, but this is more of a different, like Arby's different is good kind of different. Maybe not something I want on every figure, but as far as an experiment goes, I think this is a success. So if you feel like giving him a try, head on over to Mezco Toys and get yourself on the waitlist. Unfortunately, he did sell through, but as I've said many times, the waitlist is worth a shot. And as usual, thank you to the guys at Mezco Toys for helping me get one to review for you guys, and thanks to you guys for watching the video, and hope it was informative, and we'll see you in the next one soon.